Maybe it was the wrong number. I typed back a quick, "Who is this?"
What?
and went
What? Why you do that? Why you do that shit? Sup? So? You got your snacks, cuddle buddy, and your Adidas. Chat. Seal. Did I say that right?
I'll get right to the point. My middle son is a senior in college. He's a good kid, most of the time.
What?
I'm a bit cross with him.
So the other time he a cluck ass. If you're a cluck ass, you can be 99.9%, you can be good. That 1% or that other percent to make up 100. If you're a cluck ass, if that part of you is a cluck ass, that overrules on all of that. You be 99% good. That 1% is you a cluck ass. I don't see that good shit. I just see the cluck ass.
Now, because he just asked me for money for a spring break trip to Hawaii with his friends, which kind of caught me off guard. Like I said, he's a good kid, and I want him to enjoy himself, but something about the way he asked rubbed me the wrong way.
How he acts.
His mother's been struggling with her mental health lately, and it would have meant a lot to her to have him around, but I guess he's more preoccupied with getting wasted on a beach with his frat brothers. I can't even say I blame him for it. I was exactly the same when I was his age, and I see a lot of myself in that kid. The whole thing actually got me reminiscing about my own college days and reminded me about something I haven't thought about in a very long time, which is the story I'm about to tell. Funnily enough, my son is the one who introduced me to this page, so maybe he'll get a kick out of this if it gets read. I went to Wharton, class of '85, something I'm still damn proud of. It was and still is the most prestigious business school in the world, and I took that reputation seriously. I had my fun, but I also worked like hell. It was a different time back then. A lot of my classmates were crazy, like Wolf of Wall Street crazy, and I did my best to avoid getting swept up into that life. My junior year, though, I did something a little impulsive. I was dating a Puerto Rican girl named Maria Munez, who I remember fondly.
Wow. I hope that's not her real first and last name, because to say that on the internet, and you have hundreds of thousands of people watching the video, yeah, that can't be her real name. I don't know. Or maybe she might be in jail. I don't know. Okay, let's see.
Sometimes I try to imagine how different my life would have been if I had chosen to take things further with various girlfriends I had, her being one of them. Instead of going home for spring break like I usually did, Maria convinced me to come home to Puerto Rico to meet her extended family. It was my first time on the island, and I was eager to impress her, so I agreed without hesitation. That being said, I was a nervous wreck. I didn't want to mess anything up, and Maria often joked about how open Puerto Rican families were, so I was aware that they already knew a lot about me. It turned out that my anxiety was mostly unjustified, as I got along really well with everyone upon meeting them, and it seemed like they really liked me. Most of the trip was about meeting her relatives, but we did have time for a few outings of our own. I mean, it was spring break after all. One of those outings was a hike through El Janque, which, fun fact, is the only tropical rainforest in the U.S. National Forest System. Neither of us had a car, obviously, so Maria's mother drove us and dropped us off at one of the most popular trailheads. The two of us were pretty devious, so we definitely took advantage of the fact that neither of us had to drive. The plan was to hike, enjoy the scenery, and sneak a little rum we'd packed. Everything was lining up to be perfect, but we quickly realized there was a big problem. The trail we were most excited about was closed. I don't remember why. Flooding, maintenance, something like that.
Or some cock-ass shit happened. That's just my 2 cents.
All I remember was that Maria was really upset. I tried to calm her down and told her we could just hike one of the many other trails the forest had to offer. She wasn't budging, though. and told me that the trail we planned on hiking was like the premier trail, and the other ones didn't even come close. How one hiking trail could be astronomically better than the other, I really couldn't tell you. She was adamant though, and I had long since learned the dangers of arguing with her over something like this. So I asked her what she wanted to do instead, and she told me we should just hike the closed trail anyway.
Oh, damn.
Like I said, I was kind of rebellious back then, and so was she. So when she proposed that idea, I was on board. We'd come all this way, and now some rule was going to stop us? No chance.
What?
She gave me a look, and that was all it took. We made sure there was no...
What was that look that she gave you? I don't know how.
around, slipped past the barriers, and started up the trail, laughing like a couple.
Okay. So, you go past that first initial sign that says closed or not available to the public as of right now, or temporarily closed. You passed all those signs. So whatever happens to you and y'all at this point, I don't give two shits. I'm glad it's going to happen to you. Period.
Of idiots. At first, it was exactly what we wanted. Better even. It felt like we had the whole forest to ourselves, which was especially awesome given how popular this trail would have been otherwise. Imagine visiting a world-famous natural site, except you're the only one there. That kind of exclusivity is impossible to come by. Anyway, we hiked for a decent while, passing little waterfalls and admiring the beauty of the forest. And yes, we were also drinking. Not excessively, but just enough to feel a good buzz.
Man.
It was really fun, I have to be honest. But then, out of nowhere, Maria screamed and jumped back, almost knocking me over. That instantly put me on high alert, although I didn't know what had scared her. I looked around frantically until I saw it. A little further down the path was what looked like a freshly decapitated mongoose.
What?
Let me repeat that. It was a mongoose.
What?
A big one, too.
What is that?
And its head looked like it was completely missing.
What does a mongoose look like?
I told Maria to stay where she was and approached the carcass by myself, hoping it was maybe a stuffed animal or something.
What is that?
It wasn't. I inspected it without getting too close and confirmed what I initially thought. Its head was cleanly sliced off. The cut was too precise for it to have been anything other than a knife wound, which was downright disturbing. The worst part, though, was that the body hadn't started smelling yet, meaning it probably hadn't been there for very long.
Shit.
Maria was shaking. I was mostly shocked by it. I tried to reassure her by saying something dumb, like how crime in a national forest was unlikely, even though I couldn't explain it myself. I put my arm around her and ushered her past the body, trying to block it from the line of sight. All I could think about in that moment was putting some serious distance between us and that poor lifeless creature. We walked in silence for a while, and even though we distanced ourselves from the mongoose, I could tell the moment was gone. The adrenaline rush had worn off my buzz and erased my good mood. As bad as I felt, though, I could tell that Maria was significantly more shaken, and I couldn't imagine...
That's your... See? That's that shit I'm talking about. That's your fault. That is your fault. Cluck both of y'all. On me.
That she was even enjoying herself in the slightest. She said that she wanted to stick to our original plan of hiking the whole trail to the other side, but it was obvious that she didn't want to be in that forest anymore, and I couldn't blame her. As we were walking, I couldn't help but rack my brain, trying to figure out what we had stumbled upon. It didn't make any sense. I wasn't aware of the hunting laws there, but I couldn't imagine that hunting in a national forest so close to a pedestrian trail could be legal. And yet, that was the only explanation I could think of. Why they had let that mongoose's body there to rot was beyond me, but there was no...
I gotta look up what a mongoose is. Because, hold up. Let me see. I don't know how to spell mongoose. M-O-N, goose. Oh, there it go. Oh, what? It's like a little, bro. It's like a little, what you call those things? what do you call those things? Y'all remember in the movie Lion King? Timon and Pumbaa. Did I say that right? The little, what's it? Now I gotta look that up. Oh, he's a meerkat. That mongoose looks like a meerkat. She got scared over that. Those small. That mongoose is small as hell. You got that. I thought you meant like a moose or something. Them big ass mother. That's bigger than cars. I thought you were talking about those. A mongoose? That small ass thing? What the hell? She screamed over that. Girl. Now, the fact that it was a nice clean cut, like a knife, that's a little, yeah. But come on, girl. It's a forest. What do you expect? It's a forest. What the hell?
The rational explanation. Maybe it was a hunter who had seized upon the opportunity to have that part of the forest all to himself, like we had. I really didn't know. Maria and I hiked another mile or so, with me trying to cheer her up the whole time, but nothing was working. Eventually, she admitted that she wasn't feeling well and wanted to turn back. I didn't argue, although I was definitely dreading having to walk past that spot again, mostly because I wasn't sure how it was going to affect her, and I just wanted her to feel comfortable. We retraced our steps, and I could tell we were closing in on the spot where the mongoose had been. I told Maria to keep her head down so she wouldn't see, and she did. I braced myself as we turned the final bend, but when the spot came into view, the mongoose was no longer there. Someone had moved it. My heartbeat started racing, and I instantly began scanning nearby trees, terrified that there was someone hiding among them. I was not prepared for what came next. Instead of seeing a person, I noticed something hanging from one of the trees. It was a mongoose. It was strung up with twine, its paws tied together. There was a sickly green liquid dripping from its body that hadn't been there before, and was rotating slowly in the wind. I couldn't help but curse out loud when I saw it, which caused Maria to open her eyes. As soon as she saw it, she let out an awful, blood-curdling scream of pure terror.
That's a damn mongoose. That mongoose, a mongoose is about the size of a house cat. It is not that deep. The only thing I can think of that's like cluck is the fact that its head was clean sliced off. That's it. But other than that, girl, y'all need to get hey, yo.
She could freeze up. I grabbed her wrist and told her to run. We took off sprinting down the trail, trying not to trip over each other.
But okay, now the fact that it was hung up. Yeah, somebody else is there, or people are there with you, probably watching you. You know.
I let her go in front of me and kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting someone to be following us. Instead, a deafening scream rang out from somewhere behind us. It was a woman's scream, and it was absolutely terrifying.
So what? I'm sorry. If you didn't know by now, y'all are in a cluck situation. Give a cluck about anybody else and just run.
It sounded like the kind of scream someone getting attacked would make. I felt Maria's body jolt mid-stride, and for a second, I thought she was going to collapse. She let out this panicked sob and tried to push herself even harder, but she was already out of breath. I kept my grip on her wrist, practically dragging her along as she slowed down. We couldn't stop. My own chest was burning, but we needed to keep moving. Eventually, Maria could barely run anymore, so we had no choice but to slow down to a fast walk. I turned around completely and started walking backward, keeping my eyes locked on the trail behind us. I was bracing myself for a fight. Something had strung up that mongoose. Something had caused that scream. I was 100% sure that I'd see something charging towards us any second, but nothing ever happened. The trailhead finally came into view, and for a brief second, I thought we were in the clear. But then I saw someone standing near the barricades watching us. It was a park worker with his arms crossed, clearly pissed off. As soon as we slipped past the barricades, he started yelling at us about breaking the rules and told us he was kicking us out and banning us for life. But then he got a good look at Maria, who at that point was both sobbing and physically exhausted. I told the guy everything, not leaving a single detail out. He took it really seriously. He told us we both needed to come with him, so we did.
So hold on. You gonna take, first of all, so if I was there by myself and I made it out alive and I'm a guy, oh, I'm getting banned for life. But you see her, oh, now y'all second, now we're not banned for life no more. Oh, all right.
We were taken to a small ranger station near the parking lot where a supervisor was waiting. I had to go through the story again, then again when they called the police. Maria didn't say a word. Eventually, her mother arrived and we left, still shaken. I never heard anything about what the authorities found, or if they even bothered investigating. I'm sure Maria's family might have heard something, but we broke up the following summer.
Wow.
And we fell out of contact after that.
Oh, yeah?
So I really wouldn't know. I haven't thought about this experience in a long time, but it's still just as unsettling as it was all those years ago.
Again, at the end of the day, this was her clucking fault. This was Maria's clucking fault. If y'all didn't, I feel like if y'all never went to that forest, or like even going inside the forest, like inside the trail, y'all would have still been good, I think. Or y'all maybe would have broke up for another reason. But I feel like y'all would have been good. Y'all would have still been together. At least like next year or some shit. But that was her fault. Yo, I'm glad y'all not together no more, because she's a cluck ass. I'm glad you got out of there. I'm glad she broke it off, or whoever broke it off.
I think the worst part about the whole thing was that scream, because we never saw anyone else on that trail, and I had no idea who it belonged to.
Maybe Maria can, check it out one day. Logan. Paul? No, Logan T.
I consider myself a pretty laid-back guy. I'd say the same about most of my friends. This happened last year, so I'll get right into it.
Yeah, I'm a laid-back guy too. But when shit hit the fan,
Spring break was supposed to be just me and my friends Jackson, Ariel, and Isabel camping on a secluded beach in Alabama.
Right.
No crowds, just stars and waves. We got there late, later than we planned. We parked in the closest lot and began walking toward the beach. The place was dead quiet. No other campers, no fishermen, nothing but empty sand stretching for miles. According to Isabel, who was familiar with the area, locals sometimes use that part of the beach for overnight fishing. But that night, it was empty. It wasn't fully dark out yet, but the sun had started setting, so we'd need to set up camp quickly. Jackson and I began pitching the tents. Since I had driven, I had brought my dog Bean with me. He was a Doberman who loved the sand, so we all got a kick out of watching him run and roll around. At one point, Ariel pointed out a car in the distance, saying it had driven by twice already. I turned. An old, beat-up-looking SUV slowly rolled past on the narrow access road that ran parallel to the dunes. The access road was a little more than a strip of packed sand, just wide enough for one car. On one side was the beach where we were, and the other side was a line of shrubs. You couldn't really see the main roads from where we were. The car drove by and ultimately disappeared down the road. The four of us shrugged it off and went back to setting up. And by the time
we not shrugging nothing off. We not shrugging nothing off.
finished, we decided to crack a few beers and chop it up in a circle.
Okay.
The girls drank seltzers instead of beer, which we made fun of them for.
No. Ain't nothing funny about that, because y'all about to be in a cluck-ass situation if y'all not already in a cluck-ass situation. So you need somebody to be sober. All y'all can be drunk.
It was almost fully dark at that point. I can't remember who noticed it first, but that car that had driven by was back again. Only this time, it stopped when it was parallel to us. The driver's door opened and a man got out.
Okay.
I could tell it was a man because he was really tall, although I couldn't make out any features of his face. He began walking towards us, and the girls got nervous. Jackson and I told them not to worry, and we got up to go intercept the man before he could reach our campsite. Bean was already on high alert.
See, that's how I know this. I know this dude is not. He came to the party with some cluck intentions. Because why would you get out and not say nothing? You know, you got out and walking towards them and still not saying nothing. When in reality, you could have either pulled up, rolled down your window and said something, or stepped out and said something. Like, hey, yo! Or excuse me, or something. Pardon me, something. But nah, you're going to circle. You're going back and forth. Get out. Walk towards them and still not say nothing.
So I told him to come with us. As we got closer, I started to notice that he was walking oddly. There was this slight limp in his walk, and he almost stumbled a few times. When we got close enough, Jackson said, "How's it going, man?" Trying to keep things light.
Jackson initiated the conversation? So the dude still didn't say nothing. All right.
The guy didn't waste any time. He immediately said, "You're on my property." He slurred his words a bit, and I figured he was a little drunk. I told him we thought the beach was public land. Keep in mind, it was really unlikely that some dude owned the beach. There were no private signs anyway. After I said that, the guy didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a knife. Bean started growling in response to the man's body language.
Bro, I hate confrontation so much. As soon as he would have said that, I would have been like, okay, all right. And just left. That's it.
Which honestly should have scared the guy off given how scary Dobermans look. But he didn't budge. Instead, he started running towards us with his knife outstretched. Bean charged at him and jumped to attack his arm that was holding the knife, causing him to fall to the ground. I yelled no at the top of my lungs as I didn't want my dog to get stabbed, but Bean somehow got the dude to drop the knife. The man screamed in pain as Bean bit his arm. I whistled for him to get off, and he listened to me. He ran back to my side, but kept his eyes on the guy who was now writhing in pain on the ground. Eventually, the guy got up and started running back towards his car. Jackson and I ran back to the girls, telling them everything. By the time we finished, that SUV had driven off. The girls wanted to pack up and carry everything back to the car, but there was a part of me that was nervous about that plan. That guy was unhinged. There was no telling what he'd do, and I wasn't keen on walking in darkness with my hands full. Isabel made a good point, though, saying that he might return with a gun or something. I told Ariel to call the police and tell them where we were and what happened. Once the police were close by, the four of us started walking towards the parking lot with our stuff. Bean was on high alert, and I have to admit the only reason I felt even remotely safe was because of him.
Right.
I noticed lights up ahead near my car, and I was relieved. The officer stepped out to take our statements, and I was not ready for what happened next. He quickly pointed out my car's tires were slashed, and I was horrified to find out they were.
All of them?
The officer unholstered his weapon and told me to unlock the car, which I did. He opened my trunk, but thank God it was a false alarm. The officer was nice enough to help me with my tire situation. Thank God we brought Bean with us that night. That guy was probably a drunken lunatic. It could have probably been a quadruple murder if he had gotten his way. Finding a nice secluded place to hang out is definitely an awesome time, but it obviously comes with its risks.
So, hey, shouts out to Bean. That's
It was spring break 2023. My friend Michelle and I booked a trip to Miami for a weekend. It was both of our first times in Miami. We were both 22. We stayed at some full house rental in Wynwood, which was like a 20-minute Uber from the beach. We got there on Thursday, and we were staying until Monday. We landed pretty late in the day Thursday, so we just went out to some nearby bars for the first night. It was fun. The following day, we Ubered to Miami Beach to have a beach day. We brought the towels from the rental and just laid on the beach for hours. Multiple groups of guys approached us, and we just reject them or whatever. But there was one guy who approached us, I guess specifically me, that just had this really charming accent.
Why are you recording? You see? You trying to see some cheeks. You not fooling nobody. Yeah, go back on the left. Look. See? But why are you wearing that? Cover up. Y'all basically in a bra and y'all basically in a bra and thongs. But get mad when somebody trying to be like, yo, what's good, man? Like, how you doing? You look good. Nah, I have a boyfriend. Like, what? But you're not fooling no. Cameraman is not fooling nobody. But also, much respect to the cameraman. Just saying. But you're not fooling nobody.
This really charming accent, seemingly nice forward personality, and honestly everything about him was handsome, from his hair down to his physique.
I bet you, all these people that we seen on camera, I want to say like a good majority of them, a good majority of these people that we seeing are some cluck asses.
He introduced himself as Will. He asked what our plans for the night were and asked for my number.
What?
And honestly, I gave it to him. Then he was off on his way down the beach. He didn't seem to be with anyone.
You gave him your real number? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Who does that? I can't imagine going up to a random person and be like, yo, what you doing tonight? Yo, what's your plans? Cancel all that. We gonna do something tonight. What? That's dead as hell. I don't know nothing about you. Oh, nah.
We watched to see if he'd stop and try to get more numbers.
What the hell was that? In the distance. Is that a cargo ship? It looks like it, because it's big as hell. That blue thing in the back. Look at it. Whatever this thing is, it might be a cargo ship.
To see if he'd stop and try to get more numbers, but he didn't. He was just walking away looking at his phone, and eventually walked off the beach in the direction of the street. Michelle was a little jealous that he showed me more attention, I could tell. Later that day, after the beach and some bars...
Okay, well, if you jealous, baby girl, you don't gotta be jealous. We can do, what Dash she say? We can do a little menage a trois.
We left Miami Beach because it was a little too crazy for us. Definitely because it was spring break, but it was just a bit much. We returned to the rental with some drinks and snacks from a nearby store. We drank in the backyard by the pool, listening to music on Michelle's speaker while we plotted our night. It was around this time I shot Will a text asking what he was doing for the night. He responded very quickly, saying he and his friend didn't have plans yet, and then he suggested the four of us go out by us in Wynwood. Michelle jokingly asked if the friend was cute, but I wasn't going to ask that. We made a plan for Will and his friend to come pregame with us at the rental, so they came around 8. The friend's name was Ken, and he was surprisingly good-looking as well. I could tell Michelle was pleasantly surprised. They brought their own drinks and left them on the counter in the kitchen, and we drank in the yard for like an hour. They seemed very normal. All seemed like it was going well. We eventually walked to a nearby bar. It was also in Wynwood. I have to admit, Michelle and I were already drunk, and Ken and Will kept buying rounds of shots.
Oh my God.
Things became a blur pretty quickly. I wouldn't say I blacked out, but bits and pieces of my memory became foggy at that point. Eventually, Michelle and Ken went to another side of the bar, presumably to hook up, so I was alone with Will for quite some time. Eventually, I had to go to the bathroom, but before I left, I remember him calling out, "What do I want for my next drink?" I replied back, "A tequila soda." When I came back out from the
I would have yelled back, "Hey, yo! I'm good! I'm good! Stop! I know what you..." trying to imitate her, like being drunk. I don't know how to. Stop! Stop! I know what you're doing. Ah. Stop. No more drinks! Ah! Oh my God, was that a good drunk impression? I don't know.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Will was like hovering over the corner of the bar, clearly doing something sketchy.
I don't know if this is the real bar or not, but I can't imagine being drunk in this place. This place has a lot going on.
I walked a certain direction to get a better angle, and I saw he had the 2 drinks in front of him. But he was hovered over them as if he were doing something to my drink.
Oh, God.
I may have been drunk, but that was enough for my intuition to tell me to leave.
Yep.
I walked away without him noticing to the other side of the bar, looking for Michelle, but she and Ken were gone apparently. So I rushed out of the bar and tried calling her a bunch of times, but she never picked up. Around this time, Will texted me asking where I went. I ignored it. I texted Michelle a bunch of times, asking what happened, where is she? And then I eventually dropped the bomb that I think Will was trying to roofie me and that we should get away from these guys. I started walking back to the Airbnb. This was when Michelle texted back, asking, why do you think he was roofieing you? And I said, because he was hovering over the drink he ordered for me, doing something to it. She texted back, maybe he was just on his phone. I tried calling her.
What are the chances that the other guy is texting her?
So we all know that on Earth, there's more water than land.
That's not true.
How so?
There's more land under the water.
But trying to make it look like it's her friend, you know? It's like he has her phone texting her.
But again, she didn't pick up. She texted back instead, saying, I'm still with Ken, just text. I responded to her that I already left, so I'm not going back anyway, and I suggested she meet me at the Airbnb. She responded, I'll be back soon. So I walked back. When I got back, I let myself in with the code lock. The door automatically locked after like 10 seconds. Same thing with the back door. I sat, really drunk and by myself, honestly worried about Michelle, but also I feel like I was wondering if I was just overthinking the whole roofies thing.
Hell no!
Maybe he was just on his phone. Either way, it was too late now. I was surprised that Will never attempted to text or call me again. Next thing I remember was the doorknob to the back door jiggling, and then I heard the button sound effects of the code lock, followed by a failed attempt sound effect. I then got a text from Michelle saying to open the back door. I went to the back door and called Michelle's name through the door. She didn't answer though.
Oh, okay, see?
So I tried calling her phone, but she didn't pick up.
Oh, right.
I got a text back saying, hurry, open the door, he's coming. And this was when I really started to freak out. I yelled through the door, Michelle, you're scaring me. There was no peephole or windows to look through to see if it was really her. I begged her to please answer me. She never did. There was a peephole in the front door, so I hurried to the front and looked through it. I actually felt sick at this moment, scared for my life, because I saw what looked like Will hiding to the side of the front door. A million thoughts crossed my mind, like if Michelle was running from Will. I was still too terrified to open the back door without her confirming it was her. I texted her back that I'm calling 911 right now. She didn't respond. I actually did call 911 and explained, and while I was on the phone, I checked the peephole again, and Will was gone. When police showed up, I let them in, and within 5 minutes, one of them asked if my friend was blonde, and I said yes. He then told me that another officer had her in their squad car and was bringing her here. I was so relieved, but also horrified. When she arrived in a second police car, she had been visibly crying. She was very, very drunk. To the best of her ability, she explained that she had her phone stolen, and she was lost wandering the streets for an hour until someone helped her call the police. All of the texts I got from her number were never her. It was that guy she was with, Ken, or whatever his real name was.
I knew it.
We also found her phone thrown in the pool in the backyard. They clearly took off the second I mentioned the police. We had to make a police report, giving every last detail as specifically as possible. They said they'd get the surveillance footage for the bar we went to. We also had to contact the Airbnb host and immediately cancel our stay and go somewhere else. It was a long, nightmarish night. Obviously, the rest of our trip was completely spoiled. It took a whole week before hearing back anything from the police, and the only reason they called was to confirm what the name that guy that I was texting gave me, because it didn't align with the phone records for that number, which I'd already figured out myself. He was using another stolen phone. After that, I never heard from the police again, which is absolutely sickening how little priority the police put into cases like this, even with easy evidence. I have no interest in returning to Miami after this horrible experience.
I'm saying.
I could have honestly been killed.
Man, goddamn, Jesus. Also, that's what happens. That's one of the things that could happen. You meet a random person and y'all exchange real information and meet up. That's what could happen. Stop doing it.
My name is Anna. My friend Lena and I had been looking forward to spring break for weeks. We were two broke college juniors desperate for a change of scenery, but neither of us could afford the classic trip to Mexico or Hawaii, so we were kind of restricted to somewhere in the continental US,
Like
preferably not too far away.
Like where?
So when we found a cheap Airbnb near Charleston's historic district,
What?
we booked it immediately.
Where is that?
5 nights of food, bars, and exploring. It felt like exactly what we needed. Plus, it was my first spring break above the age of 21, so I wouldn't have to constantly stress about which places were likely to snatch my fake ID. By the third night, we'd settled into a routine. Sightseeing during the day, hopping between restaurants and bars in the evening. I'm not a heavy drinker, and neither is Lena, so we were getting more enjoyment out of just experiencing what the city had to offer. Early that evening, we ended up at this tiny seafood spot we had found online. Fried shrimp, hush puppies, sweet tea, you know, that sort of vibe.
I'm a sucker for some good hush puppies. Woo! Yeah, boy.
The place honestly felt like a hidden gem, and I was impressed that Lena had been able to sift through all the touristy stuff to find something a bit more authentic. The good vibe didn't last, though. We were halfway through our late lunch when my phone buzzed. I glanced down. It was a number I didn't recognize. The message just said, "Hey." I stared at it for a few seconds before showing Lena, asking her if she knew the number. She looked at my phone and said she didn't. I figured it was just a scam or something, but usually those scam texts say more than just "hey." Maybe it was the wrong number. I typed back a quick "who is this?" and went back to
What? Why you do that? Why you do that shit? Stop. Oh damn. Okay, so this is when it starts.
eating. Lena and I were laughing about something silly when another text from that same number popped up on my phone. It said, "Look outside."
Okay.
That one made me pause. I glanced toward the window next to our table, expecting to see someone waving or messing with me. Maybe one of my friends from school had coincidentally taken a trip to Charleston at the same time we had. But there was nothing. Just the street with people walking by like normal. I told Lena someone was messing with me, and she agreed, saying it was probably just a prank. I laughed, but the thought of that really creeps me out. None of my friends were really the type to do that, but I guessed it could have been some guy who had previously hit on me and was bored or something. Up until that point, the whole thing still felt harmless. But then another message came through, just a few minutes later. It said one word, Anna. That stopped me cold. If this person knew my name, it definitely wasn't a wrong number. Probably not a scam either. I gasped and showed Lena, and she reminded me about something I had completely forgotten about. On our first day in Charleston, Lena and I had entered one of those giveaways at a local cafe. It was one of those win a free meal promotions where they ask for your name and number and a few other things. It had completely slipped my mind, but as soon as Lena brought it up, that's all I could think about. I hadn't given my number to anyone in Charleston either, so it made sense. I told Lena whoever was texting me probably had her number as well, and the two of us kind of freaked each other out. Dinner wasn't as fun after that. In all honesty, I felt too out in the open. We paid the bill and decided to shake it off at a rooftop bar across town. It was packed and seemed like
Stop shaking shit off. You're in a club situation right now. Stop shaking it off.
place that attracted a younger crowd, so it was a no-brainer. After a few drinks, I was starting to loosen up, and Lena and I were enjoying ourselves again. But of course, that didn't last long. I got another message from that number, but this one was so much worse. It said, "That's a nice red jacket."
Oh.
I went stiff. I was wearing a red jacket. In fact, I was one of the only people there who was even wearing red. I looked around frantically, but it was useless. The place was crowded, filled with people laughing and drinking, but no one was looking at me. At least, not obviously. I showed Lena the message, and she said we should leave. The two of us started making our way back to the Airbnb as cautiously as possible. I kept glancing around behind us to make sure we weren't being followed, and we weren't. By the time we got inside, I bolted the door and double-checked every lock. We shut the curtains and locked all the windows too, trying to convince ourselves we were just overreacting. But an hour after we got back to the Airbnb, we started getting hungry, but neither of us wanted to leave. We ordered Uber Eats instead, picking some random burger place a few blocks away. I always had my Uber Eats setting set to leave at door by default, as I had a really bad experience with a delivery driver a while back that I don't...
Damn. Can we hear about that experience too? What's up? Maybe Mr. Nightmare can do another delivery horror story. And you be in that one too. Because that's crazy. That's crazy.
talk about. The estimated wait time was 50 minutes, which felt like forever.
Damn.
We distracted ourselves by watching some dumb reality show, trying to shake off the lingering paranoia from earlier.
50 minutes?
For a little while, it worked. Eventually, there was a knock at the door. I looked down at my phone and saw a notification from Uber Eats saying the driver was arriving. I was confused, though. Normally, Uber Eats would send a photo when the food was...
You get it? You get it? The food is arriving, but you gotta knock at the door a little bit before that. Don't you open that door?
dropped off, so I wasn't too sure why our driver had knocked on the door. I looked at Lena, and she looked equally confused. I got up and checked the peephole, and yeah, it was a random, bulky-looking dude in a hoodie holding our bag of food. He just looked like a normal Uber Eats driver. I watched for a few moments, expecting him to set our food down and leave.
You can't put two and two together. Huh? Sisters, mamas, I need y'all to put two and two together. Maybe y'all didn't think about it at that point in time, but I'm thinking about it right now. That's that same dude that was texting you. Now he's right outside your door, holding your food, acting like a delivery person. Come on. Put two and two together. Y'all about to piss me off.
But he just stood there. After a while, he knocked on the door again and said out loud, "Uber Eats for Anna." I said thank you and that he could just leave it out there, but he still didn't move.
How you know it was Uber
There was a
Eats?
long pause, and then he finally said I needed to come out and sign something real quick.
How did they know it was Uber Eats? How do you know that? Unless he was there already and he eavesdropped. How did he?
That wasn't right. I exchanged a knowing glance with Lena. Something was very wrong about this. She immediately pulled out her phone and dialed 911, mouthing "just in case" to me. I wasn't going to argue. Looking back, speaking out loud to that guy probably wasn't a smart choice, because after that, he started knocking on the door more aggressively. He kept saying that he had other deliveries to make and that he just needed a quick signature, but I knew that was BS. When I didn't respond, he started jiggling the doorknob. When it didn't budge, he started banging on the door, shouting my name. I honestly thought he was going to kick the door down.
Can you imagine how somebody needs to make it a way So whenever you call the police, they show up right then and there. It's like they teleporting or something. You know? Because don't let the officer be like, show up in like 30 minutes. It's gone. The damage is done.
I don't think Lena and I would have been able to fend him off had he done so. But then I heard a siren in the distance, and the banging on the door stopped. I heard the bag of food fall to the porch, followed by rapid footsteps running away from the house. There was quite the commotion on our yard. We heard officers yelling and sirens blaring. Lena and I rushed to one of the windows just in time to see two officers tackling that guy in the hoodie a few houses over. We didn't dare go outside, but we watched as they put him in cuffs and escorted him to the back of one of their cars. The officers then came to our house and we told them everything, including the text I had been receiving. By some miracle, one of the officers had been patrolling just 2 blocks from our Airbnb when Lena placed the call, which explained how they showed up so quickly. Thankfully, we were in a very happening area. They took our statements and told us we'd be hearing from them soon. It turned out our cafe theory was spot on. He worked there. He had taken photos of the giveaway forms and had been following us since that afternoon.
Wow.
Probably because we had written down that we were just visiting for spring break, and that made us easy targets or something. The cops' running theory was that he had followed us home from the bar and waited outside our house. When the Uber Eats driver pulled up, he must have convinced him to hand over the food, maybe pretending to be my boyfriend or something. The guy also apparently had a criminal record, which made the situation even worse. We were dealing with someone with a very violent history, and that was downright terrifying. The rest of the trip kind of sucked, and when it got time to leave Charleston, I was relieved. I still don't know what that guy's plan was. Maybe he thought if we opened the door, he could push his way in and do God knows what. Either way, I tried not to think about what would have happened if Lena hadn't called the police when she did, or even worse, if the police hadn't been able to get there in time.
I can see how easily the guy, if the house was set up like this, I can see how easily the Uber driver would be like, oh, here you go. You know, just waiting outside. Because you can just chill out here. I don't really know how Uber Eats works. But, like, I feel like it'll be easy for somebody to chill out right outside the house and be like, oh, yeah, thank you. You know? But, I don't know. This is what happens when y'all decide y'all want to exchange information to somebody you have never met. Stop. Just stop. Just stop. That don't even sound like something like, when the last, hopefully y'all haven't done that, but have y'all ever done that? Y'all was on vacation, you know, or not even, oh, that's my toes. Not even on vacation, like, some of y'all be exchanging personal information to your co-workers, to your neighbors, somebody that y'all just met. Stop doing that. But, you know, I'm just giving out advice. I'm just telling y'all what y'all should do. Y'all don't have to listen to me. It's okay. It's fine. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Get clucked up if y'all want to. Keep it cool. Keep it classy. And I love you. Stay happy. My family.